Hello, and welcome to a very strange unboxing. So this arrived, and I wanted to take a look at it and kind of put it in context. It's an odd step in a property that we have a lot of love for, and I don't know if it was inspired by the kind of pre-painted fad that was going on with Rackham and some of the other companies at the time. I guess WizKids always did pre-painted, but let's take a look at what we have inside. So we'll move some of this popcorn. As you can see, it's the Mutant Chronicles Collectible miniature game. Alright, so let's see if we can get this out of the box and get rid of some of this popcorn. This is the starter set for the Mutant Chronicles Collectible Miniatures game. So it includes 6 figures and everything you need to play. And of course you can see it's Fantasy Flight. So at the time, I think they may have also had the Dust license, which weren't pre-painted, they were pre-primed, but they were done in colors, so the different factions were, the armies were discernible just by the color of their primer. So let's take a look in the back. Oh yeah, and here's the thing like they do with the starter set for X-Wing. They put the box, they have a window in the box and kind of ruin the box as a storage, something to store something in, unless you want to use this vacuum form tray. But I guess this is good for retail, so you could see what the miniatures actually look like. Although I would not be bragging about, the quality of pre-painted unless there was just absolutely no competition at this time. I mean, it's very pre-painted, China factory style. So it's okay. I mean, it has a few more colors and some washes and dry brushing more than maybe some other things on the market did, but it's nothing to brag about. But let's take a look at the back here. The dark future is here, in the distant future of the solar system, under the control of the vast warring financial blocks known as the megacorporations, have pushed itself to the brink of disaster. I guess the solar system has. An ancient evil has awakened on an exploratory mission to the outer planets of Pluto and Nero. First came the disruptive Dark Symmetry, then the Apostle Algarath and his infernal Dark Legion, hell-bent on the destruction of all humanity. Unable to unite, humankind have been doomed, if not for the Brotherhood, a grim sect of fanatical zealots who have set themselves against the forces of darkness and evil, using the holy power of the art to fight the demons back to hell from which they came. Mutant Chronicles Collectible Miniatures game is a fast and furious, customizable strategic combat game unlike any you have played before. Featuring a revolutionary new army-building system, players must choose carefully between units, command cards, and order tokens to create the ultimate fighting force. As you can see, so six pre-painted miniatures in a 54mm scale, featuring a skirmish between the forces of Capital Megacorporation and the Infernal Legions of Algarath. 54 cards, figure cards, 46 command cards, 8 custom dice, a double-sided map and terrain board, complete rulebook, 10 victory zone tokens, 2 order pool cards, 40 wound tokens, and 30 order tokens. Licensed by Paradox, Fantasy Flight, and they're claiming 12 and up, 2 or more players, 1 to 2 hours. Alright, and as you can see, it's going to be a paper board. And here we can already see the 6 pre-painted miniatures in this window here. So let's open this up and see what it looks like, see what you actually get. This is a really weird step. It looks like a hex-based game, which I guess there wasn't, there were a few. Now, Games Workshop is all over that. They have the, Aeronautica Imperialis, and then their fantasy game, their fantasy skirmish game that has hexes. I don't know about hexes being revolutionary, so let's take a look inside and see what this looks like. Yeah, the art is not bad on this side. That's the thing that a lot of the Mutant Chronicles kind of reboots have trouble with, is getting good art. And it's the typical Fantasy Flight, nice linen box that they do. So there we go. That's the tiny rule book. The rules of play. So yeah, so six miniatures, and they have also all the factions that are available now: Capital, Bauhaus, Brotherhood, the Demon faction, Algaroth, and then coming soon, Imperial and Ilion. So we'll have to check and see if that actually happened. I think it did. So this is, of course, a dead game. It was discontinued, but there are miniatures for it kind of floating around on eBay and the internet. So if you're curious on taking a look at that or trying this out, then that would be the place to go. So there's some very idealized versions of the miniatures, some very, very well painted versions of the miniatures. The anatomy of the cards. Yeah, so it looks like, they've got a little stat block and a faction. And then abilities, and then there are command cards. So not only are you dealing with the units themselves, but they have different abilities or different things you can assign to them, which I'm sure it would mean you want to buy as many sets as possible to have every possible command card. There's order pool cards. So yeah, order tokens, and here's the dice. Wound tokens. Oh, that's cool. The wound tokens go right in the base there. Victory zones, so you can mark off the victory zones on the map. And here is a map shown with the different deployment, hindering terrain, cover, and victory zones. So the game setup. So the first thing you'll need to do to play the Mutant Chronicles Collectibles miniature game is assemble an army. So the skirmish we recommend using is the 2 pre-constructed skirmish armies that are included in the starter set. So there they are. This gives you a list of the commands and the miniatures. So it looks like 3-on-3. Yeah. So notice there are 3 gold, 3 silver, 3 bronze components to each army. This is the structure that every skirmish army will take. So once you start building the armies of your own, you can vary the number of units, order tokens, and command cards, but as long as you have 3 gold, 3 silver, and 3 bronze components. Because the humans and demons are mortal enemies. If you're running a human faction, like the mega corporations, you cannot include demon units, and vice versa. And then there's unique personalities. Wow. They give you tournament rules. I guess they're expecting the tournament scene to blow up for this game. I'm curious if they ever had any events. Because I know back in the day, Fantasy Flight supported their games a lot more with tournament support. So maybe have to look. The thing that'll really tell you if they were successful is if you look online and people are selling the tournament packs, with the awards and kind of goodies and giveaways that would be used to support a tournament. And then victory zones. So yeah. So overview of the round. So move, attack, guard, and use special abilities. Let me give you some examples. Yeah, it's a nice color book. I mean, always Fantasy Flight does. They have nice production values. I like the old Capital emblem that they're using. That's very, very retro. Nice, yeah. So attackers and targets. Then reading the cards. Oh, you've got reroll symbols on the cards. As well as, so the base dice that you roll. So we saw the colored dice, so I'm sure they're more or less effective depending on the colors. So those are the dice you roll. And examples of combined attacks. Like, who's going to have this many units? In the base set, you're 3 versus 3. This is everything. Alright, yeah, so it looks pretty straightforward. Guard orders, nothing really complicated. There's special abilities on the card, so that may shake things up a little bit. Although, with starter sets, usually it's pretty disappointing. You're not playing a very satisfying game. I noticed that, the X-Wing miniatures game, and there's a lot of sets that are so, anemic in their in what they offer in the starter set. They just want to give you a taste and to motivate you as much as possible, because I guess if a starter set is too satisfying, then it's gonna, you can play with it enough and not actually expand it, not actually, continue on. So that would make it too reliant on how good the game was. So if they gave you just a taste, they're going to get you to, add a little bit more to see what the real gameplay is. And I think that's it's a business strategy, but I don't think that's a very nice thing to do, because usually they don't even give you anything that crucial in starter sets, because it's, paper maps and things. All right. So, yeah, winning the game. So victory points, yeah. Victory point based game. So what units are worth in victory points? Reinforcements. Epic mode. Collector information. The quality. Ooh, rarity. Oh, of course, because it's a collectible miniatures game. There's rarity on the miniatures. That's unfortunate. Oh, that's some art I haven't seen. Nice. Oh, so Eric M. Lang was involved in the game design, so it might be worth playing. Wow. And they give you a little run through on the keywords. So yeah, that's a decent little rule book. It's not too unwieldy. And here's a catalog. Oh, I'm sorry, I completely forgot to check the date. I can do that in the rule book. I hope. Let's see here. Maybe in the credits. No. Yeah, the date that this was released, to give us some idea. Oh, they're saying fall 2007. Sorry, let me just do this real quick. Let's see. 2007. Yeah, they're dating this. So here we have the tokens. Yeah, these are nice tokens. Yeah, it's like all the tokens that they have produced. Their production is really nice. Good artwork and interesting textures and things. Very readable and also very thematic. There's nothing generic. They chose a really Mutant Chronicles looking font, and yeah, it has a nice look to them. So there's the victory zones have description text on the back. Yeah, those look decent. But that's what you'd expect. And then they give you this really thin, at least it's two-sided, a two-sided paper map. And like they showed in the rule book, hexes are marked as impassable terrain or victory zones. So hopefully you're going to get a little bit of variety. So I'll unfold this a little bit. Get a little bit of variety in what you're seeing on each side. So yeah, it's a pretty tiny, maybe 2x3 at the most. A little tiny skirmish area. So you're not going to want a massive army. But yeah, it looks halfway decent, and it's each side is different, two different sides, and probably corresponding to scenarios there. But it looks like you're not going to get much variation as far as like how things are configured. You're always going to be using the same, two options of the board of the terrain. So not a lot of customization. Not something is open. Oh, this is weird. So now we're looking at the back of the vacuum tray. I really don't like when they do this, and I'm glad, or I hope, I'm sure they're still doing it with X-Wing, but these vacuum trays, so everything goes back like this, and you have to put it back exactly the same way. So that seems like it should have been this way, and the window should have been on the front. It's an odd choice. So you get your spaces for your 6 miniatures and then the cards and things. And I don't know if you'd reuse this, but then if you don't reuse it, then you've got this window on the back. Yeah. I'm not in love with them doing that. Okay, let's take a look at the cards first. We'll save this 6-hole miniatures in the back here. Nice quality cards. So here's the different commands, it looks like. Yeah, these are not units, so they're the commands that you see. So Apocalypse, Black Technology, Bestial Speed, and they're nice and distressed, kind of grungy looking design, kind of matches things. They're still nice and readable though. They chose a decent font for the actual content of the cards, so you can see. Yeah, not bad. Yeah, they're nice and thick, playing cards with that nice kind of linen finish, and a little glossy, so it's going to resist fingerprints and things a little bit better, because they look a little narrow. I'm not sure if they're poker size. They look a little small, so they're a little bit less than a regular, like a magic card. They look a little more narrow. Oh, here's some of the unit cards at the back. Yeah, that's right. There's only 6 of them, so there can't be that many. So these look like all of our command cards. Yeah, and decent design. They didn't go for black all the way, because always with the black bordered cards you get the white where they cut it. So here's our Dark Legion, Golgotha, and Alakai. And here's your order pool cards. So there's that nostalgic capital logo there. Yeah, they, in more recent times, at least with the Modifius design, they restricted it to just a wing, like a red, white, and blue wing. So a bit different, but I like that nostalgic look. So here's more unit cards. Alright, so Advanced Biogiant, but Giant, Ezagul Ranger, Ravager, I'm sorry. Well, that's a hard to read font there, though. Ravager. Gomorian Emasculator. Nice, he must be in there. Infernal Cord. So they're giving you units. Yeah, there's only 3 units in the box, but they're giving you cards for maybe everything that they're making. That's interesting. So that means that maybe they don't include cards in the other boxes, or they're just trying to get you excited about what else there is out there. Necromutant Defiler. Wow, yeah. If it wasn't 54, that's interesting that they did that. They probably did 54 millimeter scale, so you couldn't use the old Heartbreaker miniatures, because it's just going to be a repeat of Necromutant Tormentor, Supreme Technomancer, Techron Warmaster, Venerable Technomancer, Max Steiner, Battlesuit Prototype, Bear Captain, Capitan? Oh yeah, so we got some Bauhaus. Bear Sergeant, Bear Trooper, Dragoon Captain, the Etoile Mutant. Wow. The Security Specialist. Venusian Ranger? That's looking a little odd, but yeah. Venusian Ranger Captain. Yeah, that's a strange choice. They don't have the mask. They're kind of wearing a Cobra Commander. Who is that? Where's the kind of... Yeah, like a Cobra Commander face veil. Interesting. Vulcan Battlesuit. And here's the Brotherhood. Arch-Inquisitor Nicodemus. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they changed the look. Fury Elite Bishop. Fury Elite Guard. Yeah, so we're seeing these are all the units that are in there. Inquisitor Majoris, Keeper of the Arts, Mortifactor Initiate, Mortifactor Master, Mortifactor Shadow, Sacred Warrior, Mitch Hunter of Capital Ranger, Free Marine Hero, Free Marine Soldier, Free Marine Tank Hunter, Freedom Brigade Sergeant, KA-67 Great Grey Fighter. So there's some vehicles, some flyers at least. Great Grey Scout, Martian Banshee Sergeant, Martian Banshee Trooper, Commander, and Ranger Elite. So they're showing you, and I guess that's a way, to try to get you to expand outside of these 6 miniatures that you're so impressed with already, I'm sure. Yeah, and that's the real dilemma with pre-painted is, you can put a wash on it, or you're not gonna, I don't know. I mean, you can completely reprime it, but you're going to be losing detail, because usually pre-painted is pretty thickly painted. So you probably just want to enhance details, do some highlights and edge highlighting, and maybe try to do a little more detail. Here's our dice. Those special, so they've got some blank sides and then some hit marks, as you can see. So yeah, probably red doesn't look, blue looks a little bit deadlier. Yeah, I'm wondering. the order of efficacy here. We got 2 of each, so hopefully that's enough for every single roll, and you're just going to be maybe rolling 1 unit at a time. So it looked like at the most there were 3 dice. So yeah, those are decent. They're clear enough, clearly printed enough. Put this here for now, nice and nice then. Let's take a look. Well, they did. Oh, that's nice. So they put the. Oh, that's right. Because this is a collectible game, you're going to want to. They're marked on the bottom with the faction, and then the title, the name, what number it is in the series, and then the rarity mark. And so this is our Martian Banshee Sergeant. So yeah, so as you can see, this is our Martian Sergeant. The paint job is just okay. It's not. Yeah, it's not great. It's very, very pre-painted. And there's metallics on there. There's not washes. There's not really any dry brushing. And the color scheme is okay. Not amazing. So we'll take a look at, I guess, everything. So that was a Ranger. Here's another Capital. Here's a Free Marine soldier. And the Mr. Blobby face. Look at that detail on that face. Oh, man. With the hairline that just kind of disappears. Yeah, so as you can see, here's what I was trying to show before. How they're marked on the back. It's nice there's a little slot for the wound markers. And the poses are okay. The scale, you'd think that they probably went with a larger scale. Oh, sorry. Here's our last Capital. This is our Ranger Elite. But they probably went with this scale so the detail of the paint would be a bit better. I guess it's marginally better. But yeah, I mean, they're doing... Let's see if I can get angle here. You can see they did the effort of doing the belts and things. There's a little detail picked out. The buckle, is actually metallic. So it's a step up. But I'm not quite sure what the motivation for this is. It's an okay pose, and it's a little bit soft plastic, so it's not going to break. That's kind of pliable. So here's the other faction. Here's the Technomancer. Yeah, the color scheme is not great. They're trying to kind of reimagine the characters and the setting, and it's not. That's a nice little mess there. His arm. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Look at that face. Ha ha ha. Let me see if I can get this up a little bit there. Look at that face on him. At least he doesn't have a hairline. They tried to do eyes, it looks like, too. There's like red in the eyes. And here's our Techno Mutant Defiler. So I don't know if it's even worth doing like turnarounds for detail, because the detail's not great. As you can see, there's not even like good separation. They're pre-built. I don't think they're a single piece, so they look like they had to build some of these, but they're real messy. Where they're connected. And here's our big boy. Oh, he's the only one I think with different rarity. The Izogoth. Oh, he's hefting that sword though. Look at that. So there's a bit bigger. You can enjoy the 54mm scale when you take a look at something like that. But there we go. That's not bad. I mean, look, he's got his gums. His teeth are defined. The gums are picked out. Looks like they made an effort to kind of, the bumps are a little bit lighter. So it's kind of it looks like a dry brush. They did like a white dry brush over a light blue. Or maybe vice versa. Maybe it was white. But there's a bit of detail. I mean, the bigger you go, the easier it's going to be. So sorry, the shadowy image, but that probably makes it actually look better. Looks more detailed. But there's actually metallic paint on this, and some little details. The red bands you can see, and the horns actually have a bit of a gradation. Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible, but the dilemma with pre-painted, and I think what they were trying to do is do something halfway between like a miniatures hobby and a board game. So give you something that if you weren't a great painter, you could probably, this would be about as good as you could do as a beginning painter. So you would be happy with this. And if you hated painting and assembling miniatures, you just wanted to open a box and play, this would be the thing that would do that. But it's the expense of it. It's going to be a much more expensive game. And I don't know if people really see that. And I don't know how big a market there is of those people kind of in between. Either you want a board game or you want the miniatures hobby. And since this had already been a miniatures game, since Warzone exists and there are already 28mm miniatures for everything, this is a really odd step. So this just kind of exists as this oddball step in the franchise, because they had in the 90s had done a miniatures game and was developing at the same time as kind of Rogue Trader Warhammer 40k. And so if the company wouldn't have gone out of business, this would have never happened. This odd, like half board game, half miniatures game step. And the fact that they made it collectible so that you wanted to get sets that were rare or something, because they're not blind box. They all were windowed boxes. So I don't know the rarity. Maybe it has something to do with. Well, no, it doesn't, because the army buildings seem to be strictly 2 or 3 of each. 3 of each, like metal, copper. Bronze, silver, and gold. So I'm not quite sure, but that's nice. The 2 hex bigger beasts, and thematically, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty small scale, as you can see from the size of the map. You're not going to be able to... Oh, let's do that. Let's take a look and see actually what they will look like on the map. So you can see... So this is literally 30% of the map. And yeah, the painted miniatures, of course, look much nicer on a map than just gray plastic. But I don't know. Is it worth it? And did they ever do like a neoprene or a mouse pad material kind of more premium map? Otherwise you're just dealing with this paper. Yeah, so I'll take a look and see like how much further things got developed, like if they did actually produce everything that they gave you cards for, because I'm very curious about that. And we'll give this maybe just with the recommended 3-on-3 skirmish, we'll give this a try. Maybe do a live stream of trying to play through the rules of this and seeing what it's like, seeing how, if it was a shame that this didn't do better, or if it's good that this just kind of came and went. But yeah, so Games Workshop has had some odd missteps like this there. I mean, depending on your point of view. The Inquisitor game, I think, did 54mm miniatures, metal or resin. Maybe resin. Metal would be really heavy, so probably resin, probably fine cast miniature. So I'm wondering how close to the same time this was. But this thinking is just odd to make it the price point so much higher and more expensive. I have to check what the retail of this originally was, because I'm only looking at resale prices, so that doesn't give you a good sense of anything. These were very, very cheap. This box set, sealed, was very, very cheap, and then the expansion boxes, I think, are varying between like $5 to $10 online, and I'm not sure if it's even boxes. It's probably just like the figures and cards or whatever they included in the sets. But yeah, the pre-painted is a weird step, and I guess they think it was expanding the hobby, and at the time, maybe that was their best guess. But the labor, the additional expense and labor that it took to produce something that looked like this. I mean, I think the only thing that even slightly looks okay is that Isagul's face has a little bit of surprising detail. There's like black in the mouth, red on the lips, and kind of yellow in the teeth. But the rest of them are just that same kind of blobby mess, and they're not really that much better than what you were seeing at 28. So the AT-43 and everything, they had some pretty big units, but there was some really nice dry brushing and stuff that they did. So they didn't quite find that kind of studio or that kind of factory to do the painting. Yeah, they're just okay. And I'm not quite sure that I like some of their redesign and reimagining. It would have been more fun, especially because they went with some of the retro graphics, for them to go with the very thick, heavy, kind of cartoony 90s style. I'm sure they wanted to upgrade it for, you know, a younger, newer audience and try to make the franchise stick, or at least be compelling for people new to it. But it would have been more fun to see something a little bit more retro. I think that's the problem I have with the Protoss update to Warzone, is I wasn't quite sure. Yeah, I liked kind of where they took certain things. They lost a lot of their charm, and it became a little bit more generic. And that's, I think, the problem they're having here too. It's just becoming kind of a generic space mutant and generic guy with gun, and yeah, they look like they're very orky looking. But yeah, that's it. That's all that's in the box. So you've got cards, tokens, and a paper map. And that's a shame. That's a shame they didn't do a little bit nicer map. But in starter sets, I guess, you know, that's what you're going to get. I think basically everything in a starter set, yeah, just gives you a paper map. They're not doing anything much nicer than that. So here, I'll just get everything out. So this is the Mutant Chronicles Collectible Miniatures game. And everything you get, including, let's put these tokens in there. And this lovely windowed box. Look, you can see everything through the box, making it completely useless for storage. I mean, how soon before the window's just going to get completely knocked out? Everything included. And so, yeah, if it was a typical Fantasy Flight retail, I'm guessing this is probably going to be around $40 or $50. And that's not a lot. I mean, I guess they're spending a lot on the miniatures. And probably the sets of kind of updates, if it was, you know, 3 or 4 miniatures, it was probably like $20, $25. I wouldn't be surprised. So not an easy thing to upgrade. Oh, let me double check. Oh yeah, I think they're kind of giving you, yeah, their little theme, their little building. So there's silver. That's probably bronze, very copper looking. No gold. They don't give you any gold. You got to buy the gold to expand. But yeah, I'm curious to give this a shot. And I didn't see in there if there's anything about facing or anything. I don't think there would be. Although I guess what they have, the wound marker could give you a facing, because it's always on one side. Oh, no, I was wrong. It's on 2. But, yeah, it's just so-so. I was hoping to be... I was hoping to be a little bit more impressed and try to understand. Because, so if you don't know, we've been doing a lore series, a video lore series for the Mutant Chronicles, and so I'm very interested in this setting and kind of all the twists and turns it took from the original Target games, Heartbreaker, and then on to who handled it, the company that handled it immediately after, kind of resurrected both Warzone and Chronopia with the existing assets, and then the strange mutations like the Protoss reboot for Warzone Resurrection, and then this Mutant Chronicles collectible miniatures game. So the weird permutations, and there is going to be another version of Warzone, another kind of resurrection of Warzone that I'm not sure if it's been named yet, but they are that is in development right now, so we'll see how that looks. There's been some teases with some rough, I think 3D printed miniatures, and so it looks okay so far. I'm worried it's going to be this kind of generic, you know, update to things, and it's going to lose a bit of the charm of the early stuff, the 90s stuff. I mean, you don't want to go with the crazy scale with the giant hands, you know, the fists bigger than your head, and the, you know, the shoulder pads that are going out past your forehead. Some of the miniatures, of course, were crazy from the 90s, but there's something about there's like a line you have to walk, I think, between kind of real scale and heroic kind of scale that really makes the setting feel, yeah, more appropriate. So yeah, we will see. We can maybe a lunchtime stream. We'll do a quick round of this, because if they say it can happen, what were they saying? It can happen within, if 2 players can play 1 to 2 hours. I guess that's not going to work for lunchtime. So we'll get a few a few rounds in around lunchtime. 1 to 2 hours. Wow. That can't be very realistic for 6 miniatures. Really? Wow. These must be some pretty tough units. But yeah, they give you some real basic units in the starter box, and then tease some, really classic stuff from the setting and named characters and things. So there's some stuff to take a look at. Yeah, not amazed with the redesign. The art is not the worst. It looks like the same sort of illustrators that they've gotten for a lot of the other Warhammer and Star Wars and everything licenses. But I think this disappeared pretty quick. I think it only got support for a couple of years because there's just not that much for it. Actually, let's see. Let's take a quick cheat here into their 2007 catalog and see. This might just be a lot of optimism, not maybe what they actually released. But here's the starter set. Oh, no, that's it. Yeah, so they're just kind of plugging the miniatures game, the starter set, and I guess that is what they thought an upgrade, a little expansion would be. But there we go, there's AT-43. So this whole fad of pre-painted miniatures, because people, of course, don't want... Oh, wow, this is all in here. And yeah, Confrontation. Yeah, that's right, Rackham's Confrontation had a pre-painted miniatures edition, too. Yeah, it was a whole trend going on. Let's not go too far. There's the StarCraft. But yeah, so as you see, yeah, so those are the 3 big ones that I can think of. But if you see, like, everything else in their catalog is very board game. There's Dust. Oh, that's the Dust board game. But yeah, unpainted, colored plastic pieces as opposed to these pre-painted miniatures. Yeah, so they loaded the front of the catalog with this new style. But they're not... It doesn't look like... Let me just see. These are all just board games. Yeah, they're not listing anything. There's all the ring... Anima, wow. So that's them. They had a lot more going on. They've really slimmed down. Twilight Imperium. What's that, 2nd edition? Yeah, they've really slimmed down their offerings. They had a lot of licenses too, yeah, Warhammer and everything. That's a shame. Yeah, so this is definitely part of that trend, and I'm not sure why they thought that this was going to work. It just seems a little expensive to produce, just because there's some people that don't want to paint. And painting a 54mm model is a lot more involved, because you can do so much more detail. So you'll be tempted to paint everything to a very different standard than 28. So very interesting. So this hex-based collectible game. Yeah, so they're calling it collectible, but it's not blind box. So the same way that they said living card games, because they weren't collectible card games, because you saw what you were going to buy. There was no randomness to it. So it's odd they give these rarity. They gave the miniatures rarity, but you could see what you were getting in the box. I don't know, but maybe because this kind of suggests a blind box. So maybe that was, I don't know. Booster pack, yeah. It does look like the original intention was going to be blind box booster packs with rarity. And none of these other games are doing that. So hence there's the collectible of the title, but I don't think they did that, because everything I've seen for this game is windowed boxes like about that big. So I think they maybe abandoned that idea because it just wasn't, maybe the starter set just didn't take off hard enough, and the tournament scene didn't turn into anything. But I don't know. So I'd be curious, if you have any experience with this game, or you bought it at launch, or you've played it before, or you picked up a used copy, let me know. Let me know in the comments kind of what you thought of this game, how playable it was, and if it's a shame that it didn't do better, or if it's good that it met its early end its untimely demise was a good thing, because I'm not crazy. I mean, I've got a lot of AT-43 miniatures, and they've got some okay detail, and especially because there's not human faces and things. It's a lot of aliens and robots and gorillas and spacesuits, so you don't have this blobby skin mess that you do with these miniatures, and they're just not very imaginative, just not very interesting, very standard, very boring designs for these characters. And so when you have something like this against just a regular dude with a shotgun, it's not that exciting. You need a little bit more heroic proportion, kind of crazier characters, like in the art. I mean, if they followed something a little cartoony or a little more heroic, a little in that 90s scale, it would have been, I think, a bit more fun. But that is it. So please let me know in the comments what you think, and why, if you even knew this existed, because it's a very odd step. So I'm looking forward to the new reimagining of Warzone, and keep an eye out on this channel for more of the lore series for Mutant Chronicles, and please enjoy that. There's a playlist if you want to catch up on everything. We already have about an hour done, so take a look at that. And if you don't know this setting, that's a great place to start to kind of see what's going on. You heard the very very oddly written little summary of the world from the back of this box, which doesn't quite do it justice. But it's a very interesting setting that came from that 90s time, that or I guess early 90s time that where 40K came from. So that same sort of interesting take on dystopian future. This is more solar system based. It doesn't reach as far as the entire universe, but this is a competent, as always. I mean, a well produced game, but who knows how playable it. Well, when I say well produced as far as paper components, I'm not going to say well produced as far as the miniatures. The one thing though, they're on their bases. That's nice. They didn't have to peg the bases because they wanted to print on the bottom, or peg the miniatures. So they're pretty secure on the bases. That's one thing. So if you went back and wanted to do some more painting on some of these, maybe you could kind of get them to look a little less ridiculous. Although with this the flesh tone, I think you're kind of stuck. I don't think there's much in as far as saving that real blobby paint, because you can't strip these miniatures. They would just, I'm sure, turn into nothing if you got acetone anywhere near this plastic. But this is everything. So I was excited to do this because it was such an oddity, and I found a reasonably priced sealed version of this, so I thought an unboxing was appropriate. But this is what happened to the Mutant Chronicles miniatures. So hopefully we'll see. I think it's Resnova is the company that's doing the new version of Warzone. So hopefully we'll see a much better version. And they said they're going to start small, kind of skirmish level. So hopefully they'll get some decent support, and we will see some nice new Mutant Chronicles miniatures in the future. And we can leave this this blobby nightmare behind us. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't and you're enjoying this content, and give us a like on this video to keep us doing this kind of odd unboxing. And also give me a comment. I'm curious what people's thoughts are on this actual game itself. And this is just a weird kind of half step in between, something that was not going to be the future of Mutant Chronicles, obviously. But thanks for watching, and we'll be back again soon. Goodbye.